Black-eyed children are one of the creepiest urban legends today, but are they more than just a legend? Welcome to Spooky Tales of the Pacific Northwest and beyond. Hello and welcome to Spooky Tales of the Pacific Northwest and beyond. It's Jennifer. Like it would be anybody else. I am getting sick, so it's not very fun, and my throat hurts, and I'm never sick, so I'm probably going to be a whiny bitch for the next 3 days. It's not COVID. I already tested, and it was negative. But I hate being sick, and you can hear it in my shitty nasal passages. My throat hurts too. But today's episode has to deal with black-eyed children. It's not specific to Washington State or the Pacific Northwest, but it doesn't mean that there wouldn't have been or might not have been cases here. I didn't really look for specific cases in Washington State. So they maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll do another episode or an update to it one of these days that, with some cases that in Washington State or the Pacific Northwest or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. Black-eyed children are considered one of the creepiest urban legends out there. It's said that these children are these paranormal creatures are said to resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16, and they also say that these stories of these children go all the way back to the 80s, but most of the sources that I found said that they began with a single ghost story that was written in a newspaper, I believe it was, or a magazine journal. There were a few stories besides that one that were written but the one that started all was written by Brian Bethel in 1996, and he claimed to have an encounter with these black-eyed children in Abilene, Texas. He would tell his story again on the 2012 Monsters and Mysteries in America, which was a television show that was aired on the Travel Channel. I haven't watched that show, which is really weird that I've never watched that show because I like those kinds of shows. So I might look it up on Prime or something like that and see if I can find it on Prime and watch it. Brian tells of a evening that he was parked outside of a movie theater, and it was late in the evening. And he had apparently stopped to write a check, which I think is a really weird place to stop and write a check, but whatever, not me, that was him. He said that he didn't notice the boys that approached his car until one of them tapped on his window. And he said he didn't know why, but when they tapped on the window, he was suddenly very afraid. And when he rolled down his window to talk to them, it was still there. And I get it because, I don't know, grown-ass normal people will freak me out when they tap on my window. Like, what are you doing? Go away. The older boy that was of these two boys told him that they had come to watch a movie, but they'd forgotten their money at home and asked if Brian could give them a ride. They were pretty quick to make sure that Brian understood that they were harmless, which is fucking suspicious. Like, the first time somebody says, "Oh, I'm perfectly harmless," they're probably gonna kill you. Like, come on. You shouldn't have to say that you're perfectly harmless for somebody to know that you're perfectly harmless, unless you're a man, because they suck. He goes on to say in his tale that he wrote in this newspaper or journal that he was certain that the movie that the two boys wanted to watch would have already started by the time they got back to the movie theater from this ride. Brian hadn't made eye contact with these boys the entire time that they were explaining what they wanted and the entire time that he was talking to them. But when he finally did, the fear that had begun when he first opened the window seemed to intensify, and it tripled when he realized that their eyes were completely black from corner to corner. When Brian noticed their ghostly appearance, he rolled up the window and drove away out of the parking lot immediately, as one does. He does maintain that this story to this day. So yeah, that's a pretty creepy experience. Like, I don't even like it when normal people come to my window and when I'm sitting in my car, because like obviously if my windows are rolled up and I'm in my car, that's a private moment and I need you to not be around. So please go away. And the fact that it was two children is even more creepy because kids are creepy anyway. Like, I like kids, all right. Like, I have a very specific age range, but they're weird. Like, kids are weird, period. Like, they make up things that are weird. They say things that are weird. They do things that are weird. They tell weird stories. They dress weird. They're just odd little ducks all around. They're great. Most kids are great, but they are definitely weird. So I don't even think I would roll down my window if I saw a bunch of kids like approaching my window, because also not only are they weird, but sometimes kids are not nice. And there's a particular case in the UK that would very much like, what's the word, illuminate that entire statement that I just made about kids not being nice, especially groups of kids not being nice. But I digress, and I have gone off the rails again. Brian's story was the catalyst for people to come forward with their own encounters with black-eyed children. Some of these stories were also in Texas and some in other states. So it is pretty conceivable that if I looked, I might be able to find some documented cases or encounters with black-eyed children in the Pacific Northwest. So maybe I will also do that. Not only did these stories take place in the United States, in Texas, and other states, but it also took place, some of them are even in other countries. Like, I wrote my notes down on a frickin' my computer, and I guess last night it crashed, and when I woke up this morning, what I had written is really like not what I had saved. So it's possible that I lost a bunch of stuff in this crash, but there was also like, they've even had like, there was a, if I can remember from my notes that got eaten last night, there was even stories about black-eyed children in the UK, in Great Britain, at a haunted pub that was in Staffordshire, and they're said to be encounters with them there in the UK also. So yeah, sometimes one story can open the door and all of a sudden, you know, the flood comes in. So there is another story that I've heard before about the black-eyed children and an encounter with the black-eyed children, and I think this one is a little bit more like common to be heard, because this is like, when I looked it up, this is not the first time I've heard it. Another story of the black-eyed children involves an elderly couple in a very snowy town in the middle of Vermont. The couple heard 3 sharp knocks on the door, and when they opened it up, they found 2 small children on their doorstep. Also completely fucking sus. It was a little boy and a little girl, and they asked if they could come into the couple's home and that their parents would be there soon. Neither of the kids would make eye contact with the couple. Fucking sus. And even though they hesitated, the couple did let them in the house. Like, why would you do that? The cat was apparently pissed that these kids were in the house and was extremely scared. And when the wife went into the kitchen to make hot cocoa for the kids. Most cats, if you have cats or have been around cats who are very angry and scared, they get all hissy and pissy and like make weird noises and hiss and all kinds of stuff. So there's no way nobody wouldn't have known that one of these cats was not happy that these children were in their home. And I would be not happy that a black-eyed child was in my home either. So anyway, the husband had started asking them questions, as one does to children who look lost, but the kids never answered them. When the woman came back into the living room, the kids asked if they could use the bathroom. And she said yeah. So when she looked at the kids, she realized that their eyes were dark as night. And when she directed the kids to where the bathroom was, she turned to her husband to find him covering his face. And as she asked him if he saw their eyes, the kids' eyes, he lifted up his hand from his face to show like a handful of blood because his nose was bleeding profusely, which is gross. As they were talking, the power suddenly went out and it was pitch black and they couldn't see anything. When the woman headed towards the bathroom, she could hear the kid's voice at the end of the hall, the dark hall, which this is fucking creepy anyway. I don't like the dark. I'm scared of the dark. They were saying that their parents were there. The kids left the house, leaving the front door wide open, which kids do that shit. And when the woman looked, she saw two men standing at the end of the driveway. She didn't get a response from them when she waved at them, and she thought that was kind of weird. The group got into a car and drove away, and then sometime after the two men and the kids drove away, the lights came back on in their house. After the children left their house, apparently a really strange thing started happening around the couple's house after the encounter. 3 of the 4 of their cats went missing, and the 4th was found dead in a pool of blood. Poor cat. And that could have literally been any reason whatsoever, because sometimes cats get ill and do things like bleed profusely. The husband apparently didn't stop having nosebleeds after the children left and for some time afterwards. And when it was finally suggested to him that he go to the doctor. And when he went to the doctor, he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of skin cancer. I've never heard of skin cancer causing nosebleeds, but I don't know anything about cancer, so maybe they do. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. Hold on one sec. I just know that skin cancer can be tumors in your skin and you can have them removed. So if you have any like abnormally shaped moles that are weird colors or brand new moles that you've never had before, please go get checked by a doctor. Thank you. That's your PSA on cancer prevention. Sorry. Oh, hey, I didn't ruin my notes, because here's the part of my notes about England. It even says there have been stories of black-eyed children encounters in England, and for some reason I wrote English. I don't know why. And supposedly there had been sightings in a haunted pub in Staffordshire. Some of the ghost hunters around in that area who believe the stories of the black-eyed children think that they're either extraterrestrials or they possibly are ghosts that haunt the building, which England is very old. And the buildings in England are very old. And it is not above the realm of possibility that these buildings are extremely haunted, because most of these buildings are like, I don't know, a couple hundred years old. So yeah, stands a possibility. They believe that they're either ghosts or vampires. I'm not sure I believe in vampires. That's just one of those things. I read a lot of vampire books though, but I don't know if maybe they don't, maybe they do. I don't know. These children are said to have extremely pale skin and eyes that are black as night, eyes that are without the sclera that is seen in a normal eye. So your sclera is the white of your eye. And they say that these black-eyed children don't have sclera. So they have black from corner to corner of their eye, which is really weird. And they're nothing but blackness. They're said that they wear mostly hooded sweatshirts. And I think most of the encounters that have them wearing hooded sweatshirts have them have their hood up, so their face is kind of obscured by the hood, which, if they're trying to hide stuff, that makes sense, because you can hide a lot of things in the hood of a hat, in the hood of a sweatshirt. They almost always ask for something. Like they're almost in almost all of these encounters, they've asked for something. Like the very first one, Brian Bethel, these kids asked for a ride home to get some supposed money so they could watch this movie. And then the second story of the elderly people, they asked to come into the house and then they asked to use the restroom. And if they were like real children and then they saw like there was men at the end of the driveway, maybe the kids were like a decoy and the men were like gonna rob the place, which sometimes that happens. Um, have you ever, there's a lot of TV shows that show it. So it's not, and most TV shows, especially crime dramas, are written with true stories in mind, like they're inspired by true stories. So if you watch one where, like, I don't know, kids are used as a decoy while their parents rob places, maybe that's something that happens, and you never know, because it's really easy to get kids to do things because they're gullible. Um, they will sometimes, some of the things that they ask are like calling somebody with your phone, try to get you to let them in to whatever, like your house, your car, whatever. Please don't do that. Don't let strange people or strange children into your cars or into your homes. Offer to call the police or offer to call their parents for them. Do not let them into your house. That's just, don't do that with anybody, like whether they're kids or not. Like if it's a strange person you've never met before, offer to have them sit on your porch or outside of your car and offer to call the person that they want to call for them. Don't give them your cell phone. Don't give them your telephone. Don't let them in your house, because you never know what's going to happen, because they could be absolutely going to rob you blind or slit your throat from ear to ear. So let's not do that. You can help people from outside their bubble. Sometimes they use the word please, because we're ingrained that if little kids say please, you give them what they're asking for, because it's polite to ask please, right? And sometimes they demand it, like they get really angry and they tell you, you have to do this, you have to do this, you must do this, like all that kind of stuff, which I don't take any demands from any kids, so they'd probably get a kick in the ass and told to go home. They might ask you for something or make a request, like getting a ride from you, asking, like they did with Bethel, asking for a ride home. And they might ask you for help. Like, I think I've heard some stories that I didn't add any of these stories, but I've heard some other podcasts mention that sometimes the kids will ask for help, like somebody's hurt or something like that. And it is, like it's human nature to want to help other people. So, help them from outside their bubble. Like I said, like you can help everybody from outside their bubble. You don't have to be inside their bubble. Unless they're choking, please do the Heimlich. But when somebody's asking you for help like that, you can 100% say, you wait over there, let me make the phone call in my car, have the doors locked, windows up, da 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 da. I would recommend, if you're in your car, have your car running just in case you need to skedaddle real quick. So do that. People who have encounters with the black-eyed children find themselves wanting to help them. Like they have some kind of power where they're like, oh, please help me. And you're like, okay, I'll help you. And so the person might roll down the window or open the door. But once the people get a look at the gross black eyes that go from corner to corner, the fear comes into play. And they have this huge, like it's intense, deep, and terrible sense of dread and fear. So they'll close the door or roll up the window immediately. Excuse me, that's a big old yawn. Which you shouldn't have rolled down your window in the first place. Don't do that. People, you can talk to people through the window. Like that's fine. Do it that way. Don't roll down your window. Often these children are reported to be hitchhiking or begging on the side of the street. Sometimes they are even encountered at a person's residence. So you've got the begging, which was Brian Bethel's original story. They were asking, they weren't really begging, but they were on the side of the street, basically at the parking lot, the movie theater, asking for a ride. And then the second story I shared was they were at these old people's house. Yeah, old people are pretty gullible too. People also claim to see these children late at night while driving down empty roads, or outside their window late at night. So when it becomes dark time and your body is tired, you can see things. Like a lack of sleep can create all kinds of different things, like everything from shadow people to auditory, sounds and, other visual sound, other visual, I don't want to call them hallucinations, but they're kind of hallucinations. But if you have a lack of sleep, you can see and hear things that aren't there during the daytime, or if you've had a sufficient amount of sleep. When you're driving at night, especially when the roads are completely clear, there are times when you think that you see things. Like I used to drive back and forth from PA to Forks all the time when I was doing Peninsula College. And I would oftentimes not get home until pretty late at night during the fall and the wintertime. And, sometimes you think you see stuff like run across the road, because that's just the way that your eyes and your mind plays tricks on you when that stuff is happening. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that people are seeing these children, but they're not really there, and they think that they're seeing them because their mind and their eyes are playing tricks on them. Plus, if you're like me and you listen to scary stories and podcasts and watch scary movies, I love horror movies. So my imagination is extremely vivid, and I would 100% have listened to a podcast while I'm listening to a podcast about something like this and see the thing on the side of the road. So that is not beyond the realm of possibility that people's minds and their eyes are playing tricks on them, and these children don't actually exist, but at the same time they could exist. Some have even been seen lurking around shadows in rooms. That's fucking creepy. I've never seen a shadow person in my house or in my room or anything like that, or had sleep paralysis, and I never want to, because it sounds absolutely fucking horrifying, and no thank you. Some have reported seeing the black-eyed children standing in their rooms during sleep paralysis. They do say that a lot of people who experience sleep paralysis do go through, like, they do see a shadow or something like along those lines. And some people claim that it's a demon or whatever, and they're holding them down. Sometimes these people will wake up with the sense of being watched after their sleep paralysis, and they'll find the shadow, the figure of a child in the shadows of their rooms when they wake up. So all of that is absolutely terrifying. I don't like anything to do with shadows and creepy demons and stuff like that. When I sleep, I literally I can't have my blanket over my head, because I don't like that, because I don't like feeling my own breath. Like, that's fucking gross. But I'll have it up around my face so that I can't really see what's going on in the rest of my room. And I've always slept like that. Like, my feet do not dangle off the side of the bed. My hands do not dangle off the side of my bed. My hands and my feet are tucked in like they're supposed to be beneath the blanket. So I never encounter these kinds of things. I don't know. For all I know, there's some fucking dumbass shadow person like in the corner of my closet. I don't know, because I don't look, because I'm not dumb. Like, close your eyes. Like, don't do that. I'm also a big chicken, and I don't like the dark. So like, these are things that I do to protect myself. My boyfriend thinks I'm weird because I always have the blanket on, and he's like, "Why do you have the blanket on?" And I always say, "Because it's my shield from the monsters, and if you don't like it, too bad." And then he laughs at me and he makes fun of me, but that's okay, because I don't mind, because it is kind of silly. So that was the black-eyed children. Remember, if somebody approaches your car when you are alone in it and it's nighttime, do not roll down your windows, because just don't do that. Even if it's a kid, I don't care. Talk to the kid through the window. Be safe. If they need to use your phone, offer to call the person that they want to call. And if they can't give you the number, call 911 and tell them that there's some weird person harassing you. Don't let strange people in your house. Like, I don't know why I would need to have to warn anybody to do that. Like, don't let strange people you don't know in your house, because just don't. Don't even let your friends in your house, because they're fucking weird too, and you know it. You know your friends are weird. Don't even let your friends in your house. Or do. I'm not your mom. Do what you want. But please, yeah, if you're alone outside in your car and it's nighttime and somebody approaches you, generally speaking, it's not for anything good. So don't unlock your doors. Don't roll down your window. Offer to call the people they want to call, or offer to, I don't know, if they need a ride somewhere, offer to call a cab for them. But do not let these people into your car. Do not open the door. Do not roll down the window, no matter what you do, because they're usually not approaching you for anything good. So don't do that. Anyway, that's it. Enough lectures from me. So be safe. That's all I ask. Yeah, black-eyed children, creepy as fuck. Don't let them in your house. Also, don't let them in your car. This is from the 15th, from September 15th until I don't remember when. Let me look it up, because I'm very curious. Hold on one sec. So, from September 15th to October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. So, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month and the fact that my stepdad is Mexican and my boyfriend is Mexican and like all of my nieces and nephews basically are Mexican, I am going to be featuring a story or subject on my podcast every episode that is from Latin America. It might be from, like Honduras or Mexico or like Brazil, something like that. But there will be at least one subject featured on my podcast that has to do with Latin America. Sometimes the stories, I probably won't be doing La Llorona because everybody does La Llorona and I don't want to be like everybody else. Plus, nobody ever tells a story correct. Like I said, if you like extra podcasts, Spooky Tales is a really good podcast. I really enjoy their stories and everything like that. And they covered La Llorona. And the story that they actually told was one I'd never even heard. So, everybody does La Llorona. And it's usually they're not nice stories about this woman that, supposedly happens in the story. So I don't really want to cover it. So it's not going to be La Llorona. It's going to be something else. Anything from Mexico, like I said, Mexico, Central America, South America, maybe Spain. Although I don't know if I really want to feature a story from the colonizers. So we'll see. I mean, it could be any of the really Spanish-speaking countries, which Spain, like the United States, fucking colonized everything. Or not the United States, England, excuse me. And, well, kind of the United States, too, because we stole people's countries, too. And if you don't believe me, open a fucking history book. And not, like, an 8th grade history book. Like, fucking open up, like, a college-level history book and learn some things. So, yeah. So, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, I'm going to feature at least one subject on my podcast from one of the Latin countries. So, that'll be, anywhere from Mexico to, who knows, Brazil or Chile. Not Spain, no. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So, yeah. So, learn more about the Hispanic cultures, not just what you hear look at the media or anything like that. Like, actually do some research, learn about the indigenous people that lived in Mexico, or learn about the indigenous people that live in Guatemala, or, like any of them. Learn about the different states in Mexico, learn about the Mexica, who stupid people call it the Aztecs, and they're not really the Aztecs, it's actually the Mexicas. Learn about those kinds of things. Learn about the shit that Spain did to the people in all of these countries that they colonized, because it wasn't nice. It was just as terrible as the people that fucking from England that when they colonized shit. So yeah, learn things, research things, open your mind, expand the horizons. Yeah, celebrate, Hispanic Heritage Month. So yeah, what else was I gonna say? I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. Like, you can find us on most of the places that you can find your podcasts, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or not Apple Music, I think it's Apple Podcasts. We do have a Patreon. I will link it in the show notes. We also have an email that you can send me in your scary stories, and it is spookypnwpod@gmail.com. We have the Instagram, which is spookypnwpodcast, and then we have the Patreon, like I said. I'm also possibly going to do a subscription service for the podcast through Spotify. The subscription is usually about $2.99, whatever, about $3 a month. You don't have to, subscribe to the subscription or to the podcast or to the Patreon. Like, if you can't do that monetarily, that's fine. I don't expect you to. The best thing that you can do is just sit here and listen to my podcast and listen to me ramble on about the most nonsense things you've ever heard, but they're fun and entertaining. Because that's the only support that I really need, is just listen to my podcast and keep coming back. So keep it spooky. Send me in your scary stories. I would love to hear them. I would love to feature them on the podcast. I might feature an episode or two of just Reddit stories that are scary. I don't know yet. We'll see. So yeah, keep it real, keep it spooky. Don't let people into your freaking house, or don't roll down your window when strange people show up and harass you. But yeah, thanks for coming. Keep it real. I'm getting sick. Enjoy the rest of your day.